These are 3 kettlebell swings that every hockey player should have in the repertoire. Everyone, Tom Swales here, advanced movement therapist. There are 3 kettlebell swings that I personally like to give to my hockey players. So whether you are a hockey player or whether you work with them, here's 3 kettlebell swings that every hockey player should have in their arsenal. Now, to start off, everyone should be able to do a traditional 2-handed swing. The 2-handed swing is what's going to set up your timing, your sequencing, and your patterning to be successful with every other kettlebell swing afterwards. And once you've mastered the 2-hand swing, we need to be able to do a single arm swing effectively, making sure that we're driving the hips back, stabilizing the core, pushing the hips through, and we're not squatting that swing. If you haven't mastered these 2 swings yet, then performing these other 3 swings doesn't really matter because you're not going to get the timing and the sequencing effectively done. So go back and master those. But today's video, we're going to go over these 3 additional swings. Now, this first swing that we're going to go over is the kickstand swing. And essentially, it's a staggered stance. So I've got one leg back. We've got the front leg here with a majority of the weight. So as I swing through, it's essentially kind of becoming a single leg hip hinge on the side. This back leg is just for balance. And as I come through, I'm driving that glute. And it's going to be a little bit of a rotation. There's a little bit of a torque. So this is helpful if we're changing directions or if we're winding up for a shot or anything that requires us to move through that transverse plane. So with that single leg swing, I'm really pushing that hip forward and pulling the kettlebell kind of across my body towards this opposite shoulder. So it kind of comes down on a slight angle through the legs as I push off. So to demonstrate this, we set it up like we normally would. Tilt that kettlebell, brace the core, snap it through. And I can feel my left glute is really pushing this movement. And as I come up, nice brace. Now you can play with this. You can do a step through to show where that weight is, loading up into that front leg. Or you can play with another variation where if I step through, I can keep the leg there and I switch legs. And what this does is it changes the demand of your balance from one leg to the other. So if I'm split here, this leg is now a push. I'm creating more rotation this way. And when I have it in the front, it's encouraging propulsion to go forward. So play with that, and you should only feel the glutes and hamstrings working with it. You shouldn't feel anything in the back, shoulders, or neck. Now the second swing in this sequence is going to be our cross body swing. So we want to make sure it's still a hip hinge like every swing that we do. And we're encouraging rotation to happen more through the thorax here. So there is going to be a little bit of hip shift. That's okay. But as long as we're hinged through the hips, and we're encouraging that rotation to happen where they're supposed to happen, which is in the hips and the thorax. So to start this one off, I'm going to start cross body. If you're not familiar with this, I do recommend that you use a lighter weight. Okay? We start, brace, we're pulling across. Now the timing's a little bit more challenging for this because I can't use my body as a brace to know when to release those hips. So we have to pay attention to this. And you can also turn this into a clean and throw it away. So this might be a better option just to kind of get that set. So we're in this top position. It also encourages a little bit more rotation that we can set into. As I unrack it, I'm going to throw it away. Just like the bottom of every swing, I'm bracing at the bottom, protect the spine, not letting that brace go. Then I can relax a little bit at the top once the kettlebell stops. And then the last swing we're going to do, it's a more of a lunge hinge. So we're going to switch. So we've got these kettlebell switch lunges. As we come up, the idea is when the kettlebell is coming down, we hinge. We load up that backside, that forefoot and the hip. We're getting this rotation here. And the idea is we decelerate that hip to explode out. So we get that nice swing. Kettlebell floats. We can switch it with our hands and we reverse. So you're getting that eccentric load and then up. Timing is going to be really important for this. If we don't time the hips, we're not stabilizing in the core, we're not grounded, we will lose balance. So this swing will get tremendously more difficult if those components of the swing are not put into place. So we'll start off in our split lunge position. I'm going to give it a little bit of swing at the bottom here. So I don't want to come straight because now I can't get that hinge and I got to push a lot more with the quads. But if I hinge, you can see, you can kind of mimic that sprinter and that acceleration. So load up. It gives me enough pop to float the kettlebell at the top here. If you're doing this right, set a 20 or 30, couple sets. You can do this either as a warm-up or a working set or as a finisher. This will fry your glutes. This will really target those glutes on the backside because we're getting that natural torque that we need to generate in order to improve propulsion to get our power developed from the hips where it's supposed to happen. As you can see, just a little bit of swinging really tests the cardiovascular system, and there's no impact on the joints, which if you've got knee issues, ankle issues that are preventing you from jumping or sprinting, kettlebell swings are a great option to train all those acceleration muscles, deceleration muscles on the backside so that you don't have to miss out on performance from those other skills. If you're a clinician or coach who works with hockey players, high-level athletes, any athlete who essentially requires acceleration, propulsion, change of direction, rotation, which is a lot of sports, you can learn how to effectively utilize it. Kettlebells, not only from a high performance perspective, but also from a rehabilitation as well as periodization on how to implement it into programming from injury all the way to high performance. And you can find more information over at amtcertified.ca.